Here we go. Hi, everyone. Thanks so much for joining us. If you weren't aware that we were co-presenting this workshop today, now you are. And Jason and I are going to tag team it. And for the sake of time, we got 30 minutes. We're going to try and move through a bunch of content real quick. So let's dive right in. So quick overview of what we're hoping to go through today. How to Zoom. We're going to talk about some engagement things, both how to engage people on your call, maybe some ideas on how to engage people that maybe aren't joining your virtual meetings if you are already having them, or ways that you can encourage people to join virtually if that's a thing that your club still needs to get going on. And then we'll go over just a few of the resources that we plan on sharing with you after the meeting today. And maybe we'll have a little bit of time for Q&A, but admittedly, that will be the first thing to cut if things go a little long. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Jason to start with the first half. Oh, sorry, one last thing I forgot to mention. Just for the record, Jason or I do not work for Zoom. We are not officially endorsing Zoom as your only virtual meeting platform. There are plenty of other great services out there. That said, we're going to really try and keep the how to Zoom portion of this pretty 101, pretty basic. We will be moving fast, so it might be overwhelming. You'll have contact information and everything at the end, so we'll be available for questions and stuff along the way as well. So that said, I'll turn it over to you, Jason.
Thanks, Ben. So we're going to start out walking through sort of the beginning and how to get started in Zoom. The first thing is your club really only needs one account, and you know that account can be shared amongst club leaders and even club members. For instance, my wife's club, After Hours, has basically said that their members can use it for personal use too if it's not being used for the club. The most logical account for most clubs to set up is the Pro account, which is that $14.99 one. And the advantage of using the paid account versus a free account is, well, the main one is you don't get cut off after 40 minutes, which most Rotary meetings go a little longer than. There's a discount code there up in the right that you can see, so definitely utilize that. And you know, your participants don't have to pay anything to utilize Zoom. So we're going to talk about scheduling meetings. Two different types of scheduling you can do. You can you know, set up an individual meeting, or Zoom also has the ability to do a reoccurring meeting. So if your Rotary Club meets every 2 weeks or every week, you can set up one link, and that can be the same link week after week. One of the things you may have heard recently in the media was there was some concern about Zoom security. So there's a couple best practices in regards to security. One is to set up a waiting room. And what that when you click on waiting room and you're setting up your invite, that as people arrive, they're put in a holding room, basically, virtually, and then the host can click them and allow them in. So you can sort of, yeah, you know, find out, verify the people that are coming in. The other is, I think Zoom has this now as a default, it gives a password for every meeting. So those two things help you control who's coming into your meeting. As the host, you also have a lot of control to that we'll talk about later. If for some reason some random stranger would come into your meeting, you can get rid of them. So when you set up a meeting, here's what the screen ends up looking like. Hopefully it's big enough for you, but in the upper left there, you click on the plus sign to set up a new meeting. Then you can generate the meeting invite. And when you hit schedule, oops, let's see, next slide. When you, scheduling meetings, yeah, there's the option for the waiting room. So that's one good option to check. The next one below that is enable joining before the host arrives. You can go either way on that one. The nice thing about that is if some of your members want to get on a few minutes before the meeting, they can enjoy conversation. Otherwise, the meeting won't start until you as the host arrives. Mute everyone on entry can be important, just so you don't have too much background noise, especially when you're doing more of a presentation style. On to the next slide then. After you set up the meeting, you'll see this screen, and then you can copy the invitation. And that's what you can use to include in your newsletter or an email about your meeting. Zoom has a very lengthy invite. So on the next slide, you'll see usually what I do is I try to pare it down a little bit and just have the basic information with the meeting and the Zoom link. And then I usually list the Chicago phone number only. Zoom gives you a list of like 12 phone numbers, and I don't think you need to confuse people with that. So I would just give one that is locally there. So on to security.
Jason, it looks like Karen has a question.
Yeah, go ahead, Karen.
Are you willing to take questions as you go?
Sure, if they're quick. Yeah.
Oh, okay, on that paring down the invitation, is there a way to do it so that you set your system to always give you a pared down invitation, or must you edit the copied invitation every single time?
Karen, I wish. I have not seen an option for a shorter invitation. I'll do more research, but in my experience with Zoom so far, I have not seen that. I don't know if anyone else has. Okay. So on to security. Let's say, for instance, you were having a board meeting with your club and all your board members have arrived. You'll see there the first one on the list. You can actually lock a meeting. So once everyone is there, you can lock the meeting down. So that's a nice feature. One of the great features of Zoom is the ability to share your screen. And down at the bottom bar is where when you move your cursor down to the bottom of your Zoom window, you'll see the menu bar light up. And that's where you can mute and take care of video, but that's also where the share screen is. And there's a couple of words of caution. So there's different options where you can share your actual desktop, or you can share specific applications. So sharing a specific application is safer. That way, if you have some other content that you're not looking to show to everyone on the Zoom, it doesn't appear. So just there are different options where you can share specific programs, not necessarily the
How do you share your
screen.
How do you share your whole computer?
Then you'd share screen. So if you want to share anything on your desktop, yeah, you'd share screen. And if you just want to show like a PDF or a Word document of, say, your media agenda, then you could just share the application. So the yellow circle is where you're sharing that's sharing a web page, and then the blue circle is where you'd be sharing whatever is on your desktop. So
yeah, the screen sharing is where you're sharing a whole screen is really nice, especially if you do need to flip between applications. You don't have to stop a share and then reopen a new one. It's like really nice. Like in this case, if we wanted to actually go in and demo something in Zoom, I could have that open in a web browser window and keep all of that in my same monitor, and whatever's on that screen is going to show. So it definitely has its advantages, but like Jason said, use with caution because your email might pop up or something like that too.
Yep.
So.
Yep. Why don't we move on to the next slide? So another thing that you can do if you have a speaker, this slide's a little out of order, I apologize, but if you have a speaker, you can spotlight the speaker. So if you hover over the top of the speaker and click up there, you pull down this menu, and it's called Spotlight Video. And what that does is all the participants then see the speaker large, like in these two pictures. So it's sort of a nice feature to, again, highlight someone who's speaking to your club. And then when you have the screen spotlighted up in the upper left, if you move your cursor up there, you can, that's how you cancel the spotlight. So definitely a neat feature. So let's move on to the next one.
Can I ask a question about that?
Sure.
So So it's the person that's logged in as admin, when they do the spotlight speaker, then everybody sees that?
Correct.
Okay, so it doesn't matter what gallery view or settings that the Zoom attendee has on.
I don't believe so, Heather. I think, so, and sometimes they might have to click back on gallery view. So but yeah, as I understand it, when you click that, then the spotlighted speaker dominates the view.
Let's spotlight Heather.
Oh, actually, Ben, you could try that right now if you want to experiment. Let's see.
I noticed too, when we record our speakers, we always highlight the speaker, and then that way it stays on the speaker for the videotaping.
Okay.
Yep.
All right, that's good to know.
And then if you want unspotlight, Ben, then we should go back to.
So was it spotlighting a speaker for us right now? Like, is it on Heather?
It's right. It's on Heather now. Yeah.
Okay.
Now it's on you. Now it's on me.
Yeah. Now it's on who's ever talking.
Yeah.
So if you click back then to gallery view, it should put everyone back up on the side. All right. Let's skip this slide. And the other very powerful feature of Zoom is you can share video, whether it's on YouTube or a video that you have on your computer. So for a club meeting, for instance, if you want to show a short RI Foundation video, you can totally do that in Zoom. But there's when you pull up the sharing menu and you're selecting the screen with the video on, there's these two clicks that you want to hit here. The first one, if you don't click it, people won't hear your sound. And the second one just optimizes it tells Zoom that you're trying to share a video. So I've definitely done this quite a number of times. For instance, you could use this if a speaker can't appear live at your meeting, they could record a video ahead of time, and then you could have introduction to the meeting, and you could play the speaker video and then go back into more of a live format after that. So let's move on to the next.
Jason, where is that found?
Yeah, where is that found?
Sure. Let's see.
Yeah, it's when you first hit the share button and then that window pops up showing either your screens or your windows. Right at the very bottom of that window, it's along the bottom.
Yeah.
Perfect. Thank you.
If you go to slide 12, Ben, and then that one. So it was cropped out. It's basically right below the different screens. You'd see it. So that little bar would be right below those 8 squares is where you click that. So if we want to go back to that, there we go. Just some other general things to keep in mind. It's good to have a backup of slides in case you have tech issues. Testing. So before the Rotary Club of Madison went live and did like our first board meeting, we actually simulated. We got a couple members, 4 of us got together, and we sort of went through the motions of having a board meeting just so that we were more comfortable with the technology. The other thing to think about is, whether you're presenting or participating, where's your laptop positioned? The suggestion is to have your phone, tablet, or camera so it's more at eye level. Positioning yourself is important. For instance, if you had your chair back up against a window and you were basically with your back to the outside, if the natural light was behind you, in your view, people wouldn't be able to see you. You'd almost be a shadow. So it's best to actually, natural light is good, but you want it in front of you. The other thing is to clean up and decorate your room. And you can sort of see I did that here. So got my Rotary banner up on the door. And so take some time to think about what's in your view, especially when you're presenting. And then a big one is audio. So muting yourself when not talking is important. But another one is even grabbing. I'm wearing a set of headphones, which is really nice. You can concentrate, and I get great audio quality out of them. But at a minimum, you'll see well, you can't see, but Ben has earbuds in. Thank you. They don't have to be wireless. They could be just a wired set of earbuds. Helps reduce any background echo noise. So definitely suggest trying to find a set of earbuds can be quite helpful. So with that, I think that moves on over into Ben's section.
I think you got recording and then talking about dealing with some participants too.
Oh yeah. Oh, I forgot about that part. Thank you. All right, I'll hurry it up. So as we're doing now, another great feature of Zoom is that you can record the meetings. In some RI presentations, they point out you don't have to do meeting minutes anymore if you record your board meeting, because you have it all there on video, and you can record either to your computer or to the cloud. And the only other thing, yeah, there are some limitations on how much you can put in the cloud. So it's probably, if you have a decent sized hard drive, probably best to save to your hard drive. You know, sometimes, I'm going to wrap up my section. Sometimes, you know, you could have a disruptive participant arrive at your video, like this guy here in the center of the screen, and you know, maybe let's say he's causing some disruption. As host, you have a lot of power. You can mute all the participants, and you can even put participants in a waiting room. So, for instance, if John Locke here was causing problems, I had to pick on John, you could actually put him in a waiting room. The other use of waiting room is, let's say you're having a board meeting and you have some guests at your board meeting and you want to talk about a sensitive issue that is just for club leadership. You can take a group of, you know, and assign people into the waiting room while you have your deliberations over the issue, and then you can bring people back in. So with that, then I wrap up my segment.
I had somebody literally doing yard work and raking leaves during our club meeting, so I had to mute him.
Yep.
Jason, I have a question about recording. Sure. My understanding is you can only record the whole meeting, not part of it. You can't start and stop it. Is that the case as far as you know?
No, there it appears you can pause because I see the pause button up there. So I have not tried starting and stopping completely during
this is Heather. I have done that a couple times. So you can pause it. You just need to remember, is it on or off? And it tells you in that upper left-hand corner. The other thing I figured out, because I started a client Zoom at the wrong time and I had like 10 minutes of dead time before their Zoom actually started, is in the playback side. After recording, you can set where you want it to start. And then when you send that link out or publish that link, it starts from where you told it to start. And so it cut off all my dead quiet time at the beginning.
Okay, great. Thank you.
And then, Heather posted one thing in chat that please don't use the district, if you're using the district Zoom, don't use the cloud recording because of the limitations on storage. So that's a good one. Thank you, Heather, for adding that.
Yeah, just another thing on recording, if you are recording to your local device, like your computer, one thing that I believe happens if you do stop and start recording, I don't know about pausing necessarily, but if you do stop recording and then start a new recording, I believe it'll save multiple files to your device, which no big deal. Just if you do want to send it all at once, you might have to send multiple files or compile them in video editing software or something like that. So.
Cool. Yeah, this is Brad at Black River Falls. I just want to mention we record our meetings and then we will email the link to the entire club membership list, and then those who weren't able to participate in the meeting can watch the meeting and get attendance.
Right.
Credit.
Yep. Cool. And you'll see on the chat that Tara points out that some clubs you can take the recording from Zoom and upload it to a YouTube account also, so people can experience your meeting through that format.
Yeah, all good stuff. So moving on to some of the thoughts about hosting an engaging meeting or engaging your club. one thing we definitely would recommend is assigning a host. And when we say host, you might even have to think of it as two people. So there might be a host, somebody like your club president who's actually, you know, the one maybe facilitating, or like the visual host of the meeting. But then you also might want somebody that is the Zoom host of the meeting, host. So the person who's maybe administering the chat, muting participants, running the slide deck or sharing screens, stuff like that, just so that that person who's trying to keep an eye on the crowd and you know, engage people participating in the meeting doesn't have to worry about some of the functional things that happen with Zoom, like muting and stuff like that. Also, you know, as you're thinking about how this might look for your club meetings, and it sounds like a lot of people on the call are already doing this within their meetings or doing this for their meetings, don't copy and paste your in-person meeting into Zoom, right? So, and my club was certainly guilty of this. When we first started, we tried doing like the pledge and the four-way test and stuff. And even like with muting some people, it just got like really clunky and disjointed. And so, you know, if that stuff just doesn't work for your club via Zoom, then don't do it, or do it in a different way. One thing that we have modified now is we just have one person recite the four-way test, so that can still be a part of our meeting, but then it doesn't sound all jumbled because everybody's trying to do it. And as Jason's mentioned, you know, as host, you do have a lot of extra controls. So muting, using the chat, and you can chat to the whole audience. You can chat privately by selecting people within the chat window. All very nice tools to use during a meeting, but keep in mind that's your attention being somewhere else. So definitely all the more reason to have maybe a host or a Zoom pro helping you actually run or facilitate the meeting. So yeah, the host and president, whoever that person might be that's running the meeting, you know, if you're bringing on speakers, or, you know, maybe when you first start doing this with your club, or if you've already been meeting, but you just feel like, you know, you need to take some of the clunkiness or the bumps out of your meetings, a lot of it can really be ironed out with just some guidelines, everything from time structure to giving control of the meeting, whether that's sharing or advancing slides and things like that. So just have those conversations, set those standards ahead of time instead of trying to do it live in the meeting, and learn, you know. So you're going to run some meetings and things aren't going to go perfect. Make some notes of the things that you didn't like, and you can adjust and make your next meeting go smoother. When it comes to actually engaging participant, one thing that's really helpful in looking at our participant list, it's nice and clean. There's a whole bunch of names. This is awesome. But sometimes you get people that dial in by phone, or they're using a shared account or something like that. Go in and rename those participants, and you can do that in the participants window. You click that little more button and then hit rename, and you can name them whatever you'd like, but yeah, I would suggest using their real name. One thing that's happened with me is somebody's clearly using their wife's account, and so it comes in as her name, and then I think it even has her job title beyond it. And so we just call that guy named Josh, we just call him Katie now because that's his wife's name. But anyways, just another idea, you know, set aside a mentor or designate somebody in your club who's confident and comfortable with Zoom as kind of like a club mentor. Maybe they can be your club Zoom pro. And if there's somebody in your meeting or in your club who's maybe expressed concern with how the meeting's going, or they're not feeling engaged, or you just see them on but they aren't talking, that might be an opportunity to reach out to them and have a one-on-one set where you can make sure they're understanding the technology, that they know how to use Zoom and interact. It might just be as simple as somebody reaching out because maybe they are embarrassed or for some reason don't feel comfortable asking for the help. And let the club know that, hey, this person in our club is our designated Zoom pro, and if you need something from them, reach out. Invite Rotarians and others to join, check in with those members who haven't attended virtually, and then reaching out to members who typically don't attend in person. Maybe they know that you're meeting via Zoom, but they're just not sure what that would look like. And all that it takes is a phone call or something to them to say, hey, you know, you should join us. We haven't seen you at an in-person meeting in a while. You would maybe like Zoom, and maybe meeting in this new format works better in your schedule. Maybe it's something that would get a member who maybe has been disengaged from those in-person meetings to get back connected with the club. So with Zoom in this virtual format, as I'm sure a lot of us have experienced even professionally at work and stuff, there's a ton of possibilities that open up, right? So one of the beauties of this new model of meeting is that we can invite people from anywhere, right? And we've heard great examples of people inviting past youth exchange students or, Rotary leadership that, are anywhere in the world and have them be a part of your program. Or if you have a connection at work that is typically somebody that, would be really difficult to bring into a club meeting because they have something interesting to say, but they live out in California. Well, I mean, right now is the perfect time to invite them. Also, if you can't find a program or something's not working out with your schedule, take advantage of the new model and do some of the things that we're doing either within our jobs or with our families, and just get to know them better or play a game. Maybe talk about the future of your club and what is having to do this for the last 6 weeks and for, who knows, maybe the next 6. What does that mean for the future of our club? Is this something we're going to do regularly? Do we need to change our in-person meetings to kind of complement this? Or what does that look like? Use this time to build and talk about the future. And just some real simple meeting etiquette, just some like best practices, things that maybe, people who haven't worked in this remote atmosphere, haven't done a lot of Zooms or virtual meetings, maybe just don't know. And I'll be honest, there's no like etiquette school for virtual meetings, right? So maybe none of this is really like a standard or practice. So we're maybe defining this now. But things like keeping yourself muted if you're not talking. A lot of people don't know that there's the raise hand feature in Zoom. And sometimes even using that feature in Zoom, especially if there's a long participant list, it can get overlooked. So raising your hand when you actually have a question and having that Zoom Pro or that host, that meeting host, actually looking for those people that have questions is great. We know that audio issues are sometimes a problem. Your headset's not connecting properly or whatever, and everybody's like muted and trying to talk to each other, but they can't hear each other. And it's like, can you hear me? No, I can't hear you. Can you hear me? Just tapping your ear, might be the universal symbol now for virtual meetings to say, I can't hear you. And propping your screen up, like Jason said, having your camera in one spot, not carrying the phone around to the whole house or whatever it might be, would be a nice way to give yourself a good experience on the camera. So
is there somewhere we could download this slide? This would be great to show in the beginning of the meeting.
What a great question. That will be a perfect segue into this next slide, which is some stuff that we're going to share with you right after this call. So I have that previous slide in a nice 8.5 by 11 that actually describes each of them a little bit. I have a 2-page document that goes over some of the basic settings of Zoom. I put together some free, beautiful Rotary want to use, and then we'll share the recording for this meeting. And Jason has a nice piece as well for things that you could do to help submit like a pre-recorded video, kind of like what his club is doing. Mm-hmm. We'll also share the slide deck today, which will include some of these links, basic Zoom controls, sharing, recording, Zoom tutorial type stuff. And we'll get all of this to you via email right after the meeting, and we'll also share it out to people that maybe couldn't be here today too. So we are at 12:29. We intentionally did this for a half an hour so that it could be fast and quick and maybe done over lunch. That said, I'll throw it out there for any last questions. We can maybe do 1 or 2, and then we'll wrap this up. And after this, by all means, if Jason or I can be of any help, here's our contact information. Give us a call, shoot us an email. So, any last questions?
Brian?
Yeah. The problem that I've run into is scheduling on the meetings. Is we don't seem to have a lockout where if one meeting is scheduled, you can't schedule over the top of it. Because I had a meeting yesterday scheduled for noon, and I didn't find out till I got on the call. I was just about ready to start that noon slot was already running, and when I scheduled it, like a week earlier, it wasn't taken. So how do we work that out? Because I ended up scrambling, and we ended up using one of my members' Zoom accounts to conduct the meeting. But I need to know, at least if I schedule a meeting, it's going to go.
Brian, were you using the district Zoom or your?
Yeah.
Okay,
Yeah.
so maybe Heather could address that.
Sure, and I know you have an email into me asking me about that, and I haven't gotten in there, but at this point, the district Zoom is on your honor, so we need clubs to make sure that they're not overlapping each other.
Okay.
So I apologize that this happened to you. I guess this is the first incident that has happened, so we've gone all this time and it's worked out. So
Okay.
I'm sure
Well,
it was.
I mean, that's fine. The thing I didn't know was they started the meeting like 15 minutes early, and the first meeting I had I think at 1 o'clock, right at 1 o'clock, our meeting just ended. We were trying to end it. We were still talking, and all of a sudden it just shut off. And I think somebody started their next meeting. So
that's exactly what happened.
I didn't want to do that to them, but I sat there until noon, and it never shut off. And I thought, well, okay, I guess but I didn't know if there was some. I didn't know what to do. So we just tried to find somebody else's account.
So again, sorry that happened to you. So my suggestions are, just so you know, yes, if somebody starts the next meeting early, and it does cut off all your attendees. So we did publish early on. Edwin published, kind of protocols to not start your meetings too early. So what I would do is extend the meeting time that you select by 15 minutes on each end. That way that's out there. And then, and this is for everybody, as a double check, if you're using the Rotary District Zoom account, like the day before your meeting, go out there and just make sure nobody's kind of scheduled one around you. If they did, we'd have to figure out like who to even reach out to. I guess the president of that club that we could get at a club runner, because we don't necessarily know who in that club scheduled the meeting. I get that. I just didn't know what controls we had. If we don't have any, if we don't have any really direct, that's fine. I can work with all that. I just didn't know what was going on.
I was going to say before I go to Karen, so another reason why maybe to invest in your own Zoom account. Erin, my wife's on from After Hours, and they use the district account a little bit, but then you decided, you were spending $50 for a meeting room every 2 weeks. The $14 a month for Zoom was a bargain, and then they could manage their own account. So, and then Karen, you had your hand up.
Well, this probably isn't the forum, but I hate the idea of extending an extra 15 to block your hour, because then it prevents another meeting for starting on the hour. So I'm hopeful people will just take the time that they need and, be honest with it, just for me.
We'll probably just go out and get an account. There's so much activity there that I understand it. I thought that was what we were supposed to use. So that's what I was doing. But it's not a big deal.
Brian, I think.
Go ahead, Jeff.
Brian, I think that as your club members and leaders get more and more comfortable with Zoom, I think more club meetings, even when we can go back to meeting in person, committee meetings, board meetings. For instance, the district, we alternate every other meeting, right, Heather, basically, where we meet on Zoom. So
yeah, I'm fine with it. I mean, I do conference calls all day long, as it is for my job. So it's not a problem. None of this is a problem for me, but I don't use Zoom. Typically, I use Teams, and there's you had a lot of good tricks in there for Zoom, so I'm fine with it.
You go to the next level of Zoom subscription, though, and you're allowed more hosts, then you can have multiple meetings going on at the same time. Is that true?
Yes.
Right.
Yeah, I would expect so. The base level is what, $15 a month, you said?
Additional costs with that, but yeah.
Yeah, 15 is the base account.
Yeah, okay.
And I think that works for, that works for most clubs. You get 100 people.
Sure. Yeah, if I have that 100 people problem, then we'll go for the bigger one.
Exactly.
Isn't the next step up though only like 19?
I'd have to go back to that slide. Yeah, I don't think it's that much.
It's $19, but it's $19 per host. So for every host you add, it doubles. So it kind of doubles what you're spending. That's why in the district we just have the one account. So
sure. Another thing is if for instance you had 2 meetings at the same time, which does happen for the downtown club, the Rotary After Hours Club has been nice enough to let us use their Zoom account if they aren't using it. So you could share between clubs if you had an overlap, or go back and if you have your own, utilize the district for an overlapping situation. I want to throw out there too, we downtown used Zoom to interview our scholarship recipients for this year and select scholarship recipients. So, there's a lot of ways you can use it, not just for club meetings. Socials. Erin's had virtual brunches and virtual happy hours too for her club. And Karen, I think your club has done those too.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, some stuff
we just drink all the time.
We're gonna have a paint and sip night coming up. We're doing trivia night with some other young professional groups in the Madison area. I think we're doing a game night, possibly a cook along. So tons of stuff.
I'm curious about the games. Do you what's the source for the games, and what kind of games are you talking about?
Like this morning, our club did some trivia. So, I mean, anything. But yeah, Erin, go ahead. Sorry if you had other examples.
So one of our members, Brenda, she's going to be hosting a game night for just our club members. And she's going to do, I don't have my phone with my text messages by me, but something that she's done with her family and has had fun with. And then our trivia night, one of the other YP groups, I think Magnet, is putting it together, but we're hosting it on our Zoom account from what I'm aware of. So,
so these are not like online games that you're pulling in, or are they?
I don't know yet. I'll have to see how it goes.
Yeah, I'd be really interested if you have something like that. I'd be really interested in what you guys did.
Yeah. Sorry, I can't see who's talking to me. So could you just send me a direct message in the chat and I can invite you to those things?
Sure.
Thank you.
So Brian, I have two suggestions for you. Kahoot is one. It's used a lot in the schools. The high schools use it a lot, and that can do like some questions where you can develop your own questions and ask them out to the group. Okay. And then Jackbox TV has trivia games where each attendee can use their phone, and on their phone it logs their answers to the question, and then that displays. I think that one's only like 8 people at a time. So there are options out there that are, all internet based that you can use.
Okay. Thank you.
Kathy, you had your hand up?
Yeah, so at work, we played with our team, we played categories a couple times. So someone had it on their screen, and then there's a timer, and then we would all write down our answers and then share them and like do our own points, give ourselves points if we won that category, that item. It was really fun. Actually, I had never played it before.
Cool, Kathy. Well, like Ben said, we should probably wrap up here. We're 9 minutes over our time. So I'll Ben. Oh, no. Good conversation.
Yeah, all good stuff.
Want to wrap up, Ben?
Yeah, sure. I'll just, one last thank you to everyone. And again, one last offer. If there's anything Jason and I can do to help, shoot us an email. We can set up a time. Hey, maybe we can set up a Zoom to meet and talk about anything else that might help. And we'll go from there. So good luck and thanks again.
Yeah, thanks.
Thanks all. Very well done. Thank you.
Take care, guys.
Everyone.